Hi, I'm Matt from Public Sector Personnel Consultants to offer an overview of the upcoming citywide classification and compensation study. We want to highlight your opportunities to participate, walk you through the process, and then share a position analysis questionnaire that will allow you to review your job description in the upcoming weeks. As our name suggests, this is all that we do. We do classification and compensation studies, job description writing, and salary surveys for cities, for counties, for school districts, colleges, and universities throughout the United States. Home base of our firm is here in the Valley. We've had a chance to work with well over 100 Arizona employers, about 400 municipal employers throughout the United States, and just over 1,100 public employers in total. All that qualifies us to do is ask good questions, such as what factors influence the city of Scottsdale's ability to recruit and to retain qualified staff. We certainly want to ensure that the classification plan makes sense, that job titles and job descriptions are accurate. We also want to provide some lasting solutions to ensuring a competitive salary structure for all employees. Before I discuss the two separate phases of the study, we wanted to create a little bit of a dialogue around what the study is not. Generally, when we do a salary survey or a compensation study, it is not intended to replace the annual budget. It is not intended to replace what you as an employee might be already eligible for, whether that's on the start of a fiscal year or on your anniversary date. Things like a market adjustment, a cost of living adjustment, a merit increase. Those things continue on with or without a compensation study. But the intent here, as I mentioned, is to review job descriptions. This is something that your city wants to do for you, not to you. It is not intended to replace the annual budget, not intended to replace how you typically see salary adjustments. But it is going to answer a couple of key questions when we do that salary survey. I'll touch on that in just a moment. We are reviewing your job, not you. This is not a performance review. This is not a staffing level review. So the same number of employees will continue to be in the budget as there are currently. The study will not have any bearing on your performance review or on your staffing levels. I would say typically organizations go through a study like this every 4 to 6 years. The last few years, the economy for salary adjustments and the competition for employees has really accelerated. We're seeing more studies, we are seeing more frequent salary adjustments, and frankly, we're seeing a lot more turnover in the public sector. So the time that we're going to take over the next probably 4 to 6 months will help inform the city's market position. It will help create, whether it's updated job descriptions, updated job titles, but I think just as critically and probably more interesting is ensuring that the city is able to compete to retain current staff and recruit new staff in the future. The last point here, I think, is an important one. The study itself is typically not the means by which all employees see a salary adjustment. Again, that's what merit is for. That might be what your annual budget is for. And I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail when we discuss the salary survey. The first major phase is a classification review. Classification is the study of job titles. It is the study of job descriptions. And the city has better than 500 job descriptions in the system currently. What we will have the opportunity to review is how the city defines or how we wish to define titles like manager, supervisor, coordinator, analyst, specialist, reviewing job families, career ladders, promotional opportunities, career progression, so that perhaps as you move from a worker to a senior, to a lead, to a foreman, to a supervisor, that our classifications accurately reflect that increase in duty and responsibility. And the pay plan also affords us that opportunity to express competitive pay at each of those levels. Also, promotional guidelines and promotional opportunities, so that as you do grow and stay with the city, there is somewhere for us to bring you from classification to classification. The position analysis questionnaire that I will share in just a moment will allow you to review your job description. The PAQ, or position analysis questionnaire, becomes extremely critical for the successful outcome of the study. It flows through the DNA of everything that we will be recommending, from any job title modifications to job description updates to making those accurate comparisons in the market. When we do the salary survey, we're comparing based on your actual job duties and not just based on your job title. The city competes with other nearby cities. You may compete with the private sector for some positions. Historically, there have been about 8 or 9 survey agencies that the city has authorized for comparison when we do a salary survey. We collect job descriptions, organization charts, salary plans, budget documents, and build out a salary survey effectively from scratch, comparing the city of Scottsdale's jobs, job duties, and job descriptions to like jobs out in the marketplace. Now, I mentioned a couple of slides back, the outcome of a salary survey and of a compensation study often varies depending on the job that we're talking about. If we're successful in surveying 200 or 300 different jobs, in our experience, we find that some positions are more competitive than others. I look specifically at pay ranges when we compare those job descriptions to identify if we're competitive at entry, competitive at midpoint or mid-range, and competitive at top out. We may already be at market for some positions. We may have fallen behind for others. The city has made a very concerted effort in the last 5 to 7 years to remain competitive to ensure both retention and quality recruitment of new candidates. The salary survey helps inform 2 questions. The first is, how are we doing compared to those that we are competing with? Where do we stand, or how do we stack up compared to other cities, compared to other regional employers, compared to the private sector? The follow-up is part philosophy, part strategy, and that is, where do we want to be? Where do we wish to be? Where do we need to be in order to recruit and in order to retain? You, by viewing this video, already being a City of Scottsdale employee, are a precious commodity. Your knowledge, your skills, your ability, your experience are subject to supply and demand in the marketplace. Some positions move quicker than others. Some jobs are harder to fill than others. So it's very critical that the city knows where it is in relation to market, as well as has a really informed, data-driven discussion around where do we want to be for the positioning of our salary plan, of our salary ranges. Now, most everything that I've said thus far is a paper exercise, comparing job descriptions, comparing pay ranges, reinforcing we're studying the job, not the individual. But the last 10% of the study and the implementation of the study really does become a people exercise. On the classification side, we may take the opportunity to clean up some job titles, or conversely, there may be 10 of you with the same job title, but you're performing different job duties. We may split out or create a new job description where needed. We may merge 2 or more jobs together to ensure equal pay for equal work. When we do the salary survey, if we need to update or adjust salary ranges to realign to market, the ultimate question is a budget question. If I move the salary range, do I move the salary for the employees in that salary range? So those are some options that we'll face really in the next probably 4 to 6 months as we gather data. We determine the city's current position in the market. We realign or update salary ranges to ensure competitiveness, and then decide if there is a fiscal impact associated with that. Again, does not replace a general increase, a market adjustment overall, a merit increase. But when we look job by job by job, some positions may need to move. Some positions, if they've fallen behind market, may result in some salary adjustments as well. But rarely does a study result in an across-the-board adjustment. Again, that's what the regular budget or the annual budget discussion is for. We're going to share screenshots of the position analysis questionnaire. There will be an email that will go out either with this video or shortly after this video. There will be a link in that email that will allow you to create a new position analysis questionnaire. That document is an online document. If you prefer to fill it out longhand, we do have them as a Word document. You can print it and fill it out in pen and pencil. The screenshots that I have are of the online version. We have made this a little bit paperless. You can work on the questionnaires as a group. The intent, again, is to review your job description so that when we do the salary survey, we have an assurance that employees have had a chance to review their job description before we make those external comparisons. A couple of deadlines show up on this slide. You'll have until September 22nd to complete a questionnaire. Nobody will change what you put on the questionnaire. The system will generate a PDF of your completed questionnaire that will come to your email inbox. That will also go to a supervisor's email inbox. They will not be able to change the PDF, but they can review, sign off, or comment by October 6th. The comments that we're looking for are really to ensure that no one forgets any of the job duties and responsibilities, to ensure your job description gets credit for all of those tasks, even if some of them are performed less frequently. Again, you can work on these as a group. The email that you will receive will be a link to create a new PAQ. That will be the only time that you will use that link. As you navigate through the questionnaire, you will have an opportunity to save and continue later. When you select that option and close your browser, you will receive a new email. That email will have a link that will allow you to pick up right where you left off. Any progress that you have made will not be lost. Just don't go back to that very first link in the email that goes out introducing the study. Go to the most recent link that will allow you to see, hey, I left off on page 4. I can see it. I can still navigate forward and backward to add or modify the information. I have screenshots of some of the pages of the questionnaire. It starts really with some housekeeping. We have pre-populated the online questionnaire so that you can find yourself by department, job title, name. It will populate your email address, your supervisor's name, and your supervisor's email address. If any of that information is not correct, you can add or edit it. If you choose to work on this as a group, so let's say there are 5 or 10 of you with the same job duties and you are cross-trained, we probably only need one questionnaire for that, as long as you are comfortable being classified onto the same job title, job description, and salary range. If you choose to fill this out as a group, you have an option on the bottom here to start tagging some friends. You can type in employee names and it will pre-populate from that dropdown. If one person wants to type it up, it doesn't quite work like a Google Share document where you can all jump into it at the same time. But if you want to work on it together and have one person input the information, that's totally fine. What you'll notice as we navigate through the questionnaire, there are some next and back buttons that will start to appear. Please use those to navigate through the questionnaire rather than your web browser forward and back arrows. We start at the top of your job description. Effectively, when somebody asks you what you do for a living, what do you tell them? Think at a high level who your customers are, who is benefiting from the work that you're providing for the city. Maybe you have direct line, front of house interaction with customers, with residents, with citizens, people having business with the city. Maybe your back of house supporting those that do. So think very high level for a moment about the purpose of your position and how your role allows the city to provide services either through your department, through your division. Again, kind of the elevator speech, 2 or 3 sentences when somebody asks you what you do for a living. How do you summarize that? We have another box here. We're not asking you to do our work for us, but many of you might be aware of what your job is called in the city next door. A lot of times, one organization might call something an analyst, and the same work is being performed in another organization by a specialist or by an assistant or by a coordinator. You can leave this box blank, but if you want to point us in a certain direction when we start to do the salary survey, any information that you'd like to share here, please feel free to do so. Our next slide becomes the body of our job description. In paper format, this is a blank page. This becomes the bullet points that list out duties, tasks, and responsibilities on your job description. If you'd like to reference your current job description, please do. We will have those, so don't feel like you have to copy and paste. But what we're looking for on this page is for you to list out what you do when you're at work. If there are tasks that you perform every day, I would say that it's appropriate to write those down on this page. If there are tasks that you feel are important, maybe you don't perform them every day, but when they come up, it's extremely critical that you do. I would put them on this questionnaire. The number of boxes on here, there might be 6, 8, 10 boxes. There's nothing magical about that. If you want to cut your job duties, responsibilities into 12 pieces, 5 pieces, 22 pieces, however much information you want to tell us about, there is no character limit to these. If you do bounce around, just try to label for us, hey, daily or regularly, here are tasks that I perform less frequently, but every so often, once a quarter, once a month. Might have to do some reporting or when it's budget season. What you will also notice on this screen share is that at the top in the gray banner, we have a save and continue later button. So we've really made it to about the top or middle of page 2 of the questionnaire out of about 4 pages total, 5 pages total. But if you start to type in this box and you want to save and come back later, or if you get interrupted, we don't expect anybody to be able to sit down and do this all in one sitting. This is where we will click save and continue later. You can exit the browser. I would say within an hour, you will receive an email, whether it's from Survey Alchemer, Survey Gizmo, wherever those emails come in from the system, you will get a link to pick right back up where you left off. This becomes your unique questionnaire rather than, as I mentioned, the start of a brand new questionnaire in that first email that you'll see. If we have successfully written down what we do, give some thought to what you have to know and what you have to be good at in order to perform those job duties. You have to have customer service skills, communication skills, computer skills, knowledge of safety guidelines, knowledge of generally accepted practicals and principles and practices, as it relates to, finance or accounting or purchasing, skill in remaining calm in an emergency situation. List that out there. Those land on the job description under minimum qualifications. On the bottom of this screen share, are there any information sources that you reference? Codes, ordinances, statutes, procedure manuals that suggest or dictate how you do your work, when you do your work, or maybe how you document your work. Again, we have the save and continue later banner that follows us around. The next section, we're looking for your opinion. Let's say you are promoted and we ask you to help find your own replacement. What would you look for on someone's resume or job application that would suggest that you can come in, or a new employee could come and learn how to perform these job duties? Does your job require a high school diploma and a couple of years of experience? Maybe a 2-year or 4-year degree? List that out for us. Any specific coursework, field of study, specific degree requirement? Are there any licenses or certifications that your position requires or should require? Do you have to have those when you apply on day one? Can you get those after you've been in the position for 90 days or for 6 months? What's missing from this screen share, but what should also pop up, physical demands for compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. Are you doing a lot of driving, standing, lifting, carrying, bending? Also, I believe there's a section for work environment. Are we working out of doors? Are we around moving traffic? Any potential for physical harm? So list out any environmental exposures that you might have. We switch gears a little bit. The last couple of sections for the questionnaire. How did you know what to work on when you came to work? Does someone greet you at the door with a checklist that says, hey, once you do this task, check in with me, and then do the next task and check in with me? Or are there occasions when instructions are not provided? How much freedom and latitude do you have to decide what you're going to be working on? Do you get to shift around deadlines, or maybe you're working on a project that spans weeks or months, and you get to decide how to get that project from start to finish? When are those natural touch points with your supervisor? Do you come back together with that individual? Maybe you work out in the field and your supervisor works in an office. Do you see that person on a daily basis? Are they reviewing your work or checking in with you? Are you making any significant decisions? The bottom box there, are there some actions, documents, plans, things that you're signing off on that you have the final say? What types of decisions are you authorized to make without clearing them with your supervisor versus what comes up that your supervisor wants to be part of, or where does the buck stop is another way to say it. The middle of this screen share, what are the most difficult or important decisions that you were expected to make? Is there a potential liability to your department, to the city, to the safety of the public? Some of you may be making life and death decisions out in the field. Tell us about that. Who do you come into contact with? Are you interacting with people across the city, in other departments? Outside of the city, are you coming into contact maybe with other local governments, other law enforcement agencies, vendors, suppliers, contractors, citizens? Give us an idea of who and what type of interaction you might have with folks both inside and outside the city government. We left you a blank box here, number 26, any other relevant information that we did not ask about. If you are a supervisor of employees, if you are responsible for the work being performed by contractors, suppliers, vendors, list out who and how many people report to you. So if you are a supervisor, we will be working with human resources to gather organization charts. But if you'd like to attach, I think there's an option to attach files. If you want to sketch out an org chart here, or at least indicate the number of people that report to you directly or indirectly. Maybe you do not have the final say when it comes to hiring, training, approving time off, approving overtime, but maybe your supervisor or manager gives your input pretty considerable attention. There's a check the box there where you at least recommend some of those personnel kind of related actions. So if you have responsibility for others, fill out that page. If not, you can leave it blank. When you make it this far, you'll be able to either kind of drag through here with your finger or with your mouse, type in your name. If you fill this out longhand in pen and pencil, once you sign and date that questionnaire, please keep a copy of it for yourself. The online version obviously will trap the progress and trap it as a paper or as a paperless document. But if you fill it out longhand, keep a copy for yourself. When you hit next, you are going to receive an email probably within a couple of hours of your completed questionnaire into your inbox as a PDF. Your supervisor will also get an email that indicates, hey, one of your employees has completed a questionnaire. Please click here to sign off and acknowledge that that questionnaire has been completed. A couple of other notes. Our scope of work includes surveying all positions. I don't believe that I need or we need every police officer and every firefighter to complete a job questionnaire. In a paramilitary rank structure, we probably will not be looking at classification or title modifications. However, I definitely want to be cautious if there is something that we need to know when we compare either rank to rank. There may be some cities that have one of your ranks or are missing one of your ranks. And so I don't want to take for granted just comparing job titles in public safety, but I don't know that I need necessarily every single employee to fill out a questionnaire. I would love to get at least 500 questionnaires, meaning every job was documented. But work with your command staff, talk to your department heads. As far as group questionnaires go, we will take as much and as many questionnaires as we can get. That is it for the brief overview. As I mentioned, we'll be working on this really probably through the end of the calendar year and into early 2024. We will do our best to partner with HR to communicate our progress. Thank you in advance for completing a questionnaire. Certainly thank you for viewing the video, and hopefully we'll get to see everybody again here in the near future.